Morning folks, welcome to Unmasked Outdoors. My name's Sam, this is my YouTube channel. I'm here at Badbury Rings, which is an Iron Age fort, I think. I probably should have done some reading on what it was before I came up here, but I think it's an Iron Age fort, an old Iron Age fort. What more to say? And it's a bank holiday Monday and I'm up here not super early, I'm up here 9 o'clock. And that's quite fitting because I'm going to talk today about alcohol. I've mentioned in a couple of videos that I'm a recovering alcoholic. So I thought I'd tell you the story of what happened to me and why 5 or 6 years ago I absolutely would not be out here on a bank holiday Monday morning at 9 o'clock. So join me. I always think if I go somewhere really ancient like this, well, I'm not sure what the cut-off point for ancient is. I'm considering today Iron Age is ancient. And I always think, what if I was to have like a Kundalini experience or a time slip and all the energies of the people who came before me were somehow channeled through me. And I saw some cool stuff. Never happened. But yeah, it's quite busy actually already. I've come here, I thought I'd come here quite early and try and miss the people, but there's quite a lot of folk around and I'm about to talk about all the horrors of alcohol. So that's fun. By the way, if you're interested in this walk, I can't remember what it's called, but I will post a screenshot here. So I stopped drinking in 2021 and my Monday mornings, particularly my bank holiday Monday mornings, would be very different to this. I'd either be still drinking from the weekend or I would be hungover, really badly hungover. But that was towards the end. How did it start? Well, it started just the same as anyone else would. At 15, having my first drink. The response to alcohol in me, however, was much different to my friends. So we were all doing the same thing at 15. So let me take you even further back, because a lot of alcoholics like to talk about childhood and stuff. I had a fairly normal childhood, working class parents, never had much money, but had everything we needed. Wasn't subjected to anything nasty, probably went through a little bit of trauma when my parents broke up, but nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing that many other kids who aren't alcoholics would have gone through. So I'm absolutely not pinning this on anything to do with my childhood at all, because my 2 sisters and my brother went through the same thing and they're not alcoholics. Was it a contributing factor? Who knows? I firmly believe, and I do really firmly believe, that I'm genetically an alcoholic. So whatever would have happened to me in my childhood, I would have ended up an alcoholic. Alcohol elicits a response in me where I just want more and more and more, and I drink until blackout. It's that simple. And I think that would have been the case however my childhood would have been. Other contributing factors, I'm autistic. Again, not the cause of my alcoholism, but definitely a big player in the game of things that made it difficult for me to cope. I'm incredibly anxious and I have panic attacks. Again, they don't make me an alcoholic. I believe that I'm an alcoholic genetically somehow. And that is only a belief, it's not a fact. But it's something that I'll never have the answer to, so it's just something that I believe. Is it convenient? Probably. But it's just, I find it easier that way. So yeah, I'm autistic, I have panic attacks, and I'm anxious. So those, and that obviously was, that my first panic attack was when I was 8. Obviously autism is a lifelong thing, and I've always been anxious. I've always been an anxious person. So fast forward to me being 15, that's when I had my first drunk. Not my first drink. I tried bits of cans of lager and stuff before that, but I never felt the effect of alcohol. And I was always growing up, so we never had alcohol in the house. My dad didn't drink when I was growing up. My grandma didn't drink. My mum did drink, but not alcoholically. So it's not like I was surrounded by it. And if anything, I was given horror stories and stuff, because my granddad was quite a violent, nasty alcoholic. So I had my first drunk at 15. I was around at a friend's house, and his brother brought down one of those 3-litre bottles of cider. White Lightning, White Diamond, they're all sort of the same thing. And I drank it, and a light bulb came on for me. And I vividly remember thinking, I want to feel like this all the time. It seemed to make my anxiety go away. I felt invincible. I felt confident. Yeah, I just felt on top of the world. And I did drink to black out that night. Nothing horrendous happened. Made a bit of a prat of myself. And then got up in the morning, had a horrendous hangover, but couldn't wait to do it again, basically. And I made it my mission from there on to get as drunk as I could, as often as I could. Because in my mind, that's how you should feel. That's how I should feel. I should be confident. I should be not anxious. I should be a bit daft and a bit silly and making people laugh, and it's a role that I came to understand as my place in social interactions. So yeah, that's how it started. So it carried on like that for a couple of years. But by the time I was 17, so again, I had a couple of years of, you wouldn't have picked me out as the alcoholic from all of my friends, because we were all doing the same thing. Little did anyone know it was obviously having a vastly different effect on me than it was on anyone else. But as an observer, you would never have picked that up. You would have seen a bunch of 15, 16-year-old lads buying cheap cider and special brew from a shop, getting drunk and acting daft. And that's all you would have seen. But by 17, some behaviours which would be more typical of an addict or an alcoholic started to become present in my life. So at 17, I'm prioritising alcohol over everything. I start struggling in college. I start borrowing money just to get it if I can. Lying about why I need money to older family members, grandmas, aunties, that kind of thing, just to get 8 cans of lager was like if I had that, I knew it was going to be fine, kind of thing. And it was 8 cans for a fiver back when I was 17. And that's what I wanted every night. I wanted to get my 8 cans of lager. Another big part of my life was the internet. So being autistic and struggling with anxiety and panic attacks, I found the internet to be an absolute blessing when it came along for me to be able to communicate with people. And so I met my partner online, made some of my best friends online. I started using the internet when social media was a way to meet people, not to just stay in touch with people you already knew. And that's a whole other video, but I'll do another video on that sometime. But what I really wanted to do is get my 8 cans of lager. I wanted to sit in my room, I wanted to drink them, and I wanted to chat to people online. That is it. And everything else came secondary to that. So my college, personal hygiene, diet, physical health, mental health, because that's where I felt my most comfortable. That's what I wanted. So I just about scraped through college. And I mean scraped through. I was going to drop out at one point and they convinced me just to do the final piece of work, and I ended up getting an okay mark, but I was so close to not making it. And by the time I was 18, my grandma died, which was quite traumatic because I was incredibly close to my grandma. I had a bit of a nasty breakup with my partner at the time. I didn't have a great relationship with my mum. At 18, I was sleeping on my 12-year-old brother's bedroom floor. And then my mum wanted money for me to stay there, and I either didn't have it or I wouldn't have been prepared to give it to her even if I did have it, because I wanted to spend my money on alcohol. And my sister had got a house because I think she was pregnant at the time. And it was decided I could live there temporarily because she wasn't ready to move in yet. So I signed on, which is UK term for getting income support. I don't know what the US or European equivalent is, but it's basically state benefits. Job seekers allowance. As part of that, they'll give you money towards your rent. For some reason, they used to give it me in a cheque that I would cash in at my own bank and then be trusted to then give that money to the landlord. You won't be surprised to know that I spent all the rent money in the pub. And I still managed to have a tab as well. So at 19, I'm completely lost. My grandma's died. I'm living in somewhere where I've immediately got rent arrears. I've got no direction in life. I'm working as a sound engineer at this point, but the odd shift here and there. I got a decent job working in a venue that was gigs almost every night, but it was only for a couple of months because they shut down. So, and any money I did get was going on alcohol anyway. And for a lot of people already, you're looking at this and going, oh, geez, time to make some changes, right? Which would be the sensible choice. You absolutely should if you're doing this at this stage or any stage in your life. I didn't quit drinking until I was 31. So I've got another 13 years of this to go. At 19, I met my partner, who is still my partner today. I mean, there's not much I can say about that really. Did I deserve someone to stick with me throughout the entirety of my alcoholism? Probably not. Did she? Yes. Am I eternally grateful? Yes. And the story of how we met and all the social media side of things, I'm going to do a video on because it needs its own video and it's quite fun. But we met at a party in London. My partner was at uni in Kingston at the time, but she's from Dorset, where we live now. And I was living in West Yorkshire, where I'm from. We started seeing each other long distance for a little bit. And then at one point she said, I really want to move to Brighton. Shall we move to Brighton? And I said, yeah. Where's Brighton? And it was a lot easier back then to pack up and move somewhere and kind of get a cheapish flat. I think our first flat we were paying less than 600 quid a month for in Brighton, a 20-minute walk from the town centre. That would be just unheard of today. So we packed up and off we went, and we got a little flat. Our first night in there, all we had was a chessboard. Didn't even have a bed or anything. We had to sleep on the floor in a sheet. It was fun. So my partner knew pretty early on that there was something wrong with the way I drank. It was obvious. I was incredibly defensive about it because I truly believed that alcohol was the only way I could be myself. The only way I could, and I remember what I said at the start, I am an anxious person. I have panic attacks and I'm autistic. But I truly believed alcohol made me who I'm truly supposed to be, which is this confident, easygoing, daft, this, that and the other. I'm still daft, by the way. But it's just this delusion that a lot of alcoholics have. And it's why it's so hard to give it up, because you truly believe that without it, you're just a shell of a person, and that nothing will be worth it, nothing will be fun. You'll struggle in all these different environments, you struggle in all these different scenarios, and life honestly just won't be worth living. That's what I thought. And alcohol becomes your shortcut for everything. It's the way alcoholics learn to cope with everything. Everything. It doesn't matter if the problem was caused by alcohol, the solution is more alcohol. Because it's the only way I know how to cope with anything. And the more that you take the shortcut that alcohol gives you, like dealing with a bad day, dealing with a good day, dealing with some bad news, dealing with boredom, the more you use alcohol as your shortcut to deal with those things, the harder it is when alcohol's taken away for you to remember how to deal with those things naturally, and you just forget in the end. And that's what I got to, that's where I got to. So yeah, my partner knew that something was wrong very early on, as I think anyone would have, but I used every manipulation tactic in the book to carry on drinking. Lies about how normal it was and how I needed it, and just made it so it was a pointless argument for her to have with me, because she knew I wasn't going to back down. And at that point, it would have been well within someone's right to not want to be in that relationship anymore. So I count my blessings every day that I'm still with this woman, because she was able to somehow see beneath the alcoholism to the person. So yeah, I worked hard in Brighton. My partner worked hard in Brighton. I played hard in Brighton. My partner didn't. My partner doesn't have any issues with addiction, doesn't drink by choice, and was very much the person who needed to be in order for us to keep our lives in order, while I was full of chaos and booze. So we were in Brighton for a few years, 3 or 4 years, and then my partner became pregnant with our son. And that was a wake-up call, or it was supposed to be, especially for my drinking. There were times when I tried to rein it in, and there was times I was vaguely successful, but being truthful, I always drank as much as I could, as often as I could. It's that simple. There were some days where I worked 14 hours, and I could only get one in at the end, but I made sure I got it in, We're in 2012, and I know, only 2012. Geez, I can laugh now, but a lot of alcoholics will laugh about the situation just because, we're in a place now where we've done the work, we've made amends, we're better, provided we, keep doing our daily stuff. And we can kind of smile and laugh about it between ourselves. It's not to laugh at anyone else's experience with having to deal with us. So in 2012, my son was on his way, and we decided we'd better move to be closer to one of our parents. And obviously my mum was in West Yorkshire, and my partner's parents lived in Dorset. So we thought that would be much easier. I got a job down there. My son was born. We had a really positive, I was about to call the birth really positive. It went according to our birth plan, but that would be an insult to pretty much all women for me to stand here as someone who felt none of the pain and say, yeah, it was really positive. It went according to our birth plan, let's just say that. I didn't drink, miraculously. We had a happy, healthy baby boy, Josh, who's 13 now. And yeah, life was pretty good in those early days. I worked hard, I worked long hours, and I drank a lot still. I was an alcoholic, I'm an alcoholic, so there won't be any time throughout this story until I sober up where I'm not drinking alcoholically. We had some really good times in our little flat with Josh. And then Saoirse had some really horrible times where I'd be gone drinking all day. And especially with working the long hours, I believed it was my right to go out and drink all day and desert my family, which is just rubbish. It's just rubbish. Why would my family deserve that? I mean, they've had to be at home the whole day while I'm at work. Why would they then deserve to be deserted while I go and spend all day in the pub? But that's what I believed at the time. And one thing you need to know about alcoholism is it's a progressive disease. It only goes in one direction, alcoholism, and it's towards the end of your life, much sooner than is your time, or it's towards sobriety. So my alcoholism was getting worse. At one point, me and Saoirse had decent full-time jobs, both working in schools, but my alcoholism was getting much worse at this point. It's also worth noting at this point that I hadn't yet been diagnosed with autism. That is around this time that I'm coming up to now. And there's one event that led to it. So this event that led to me being diagnosed with autism, a lot of people want to know how I got diagnosed because they either think they might have autism or their children might. And the truth is I didn't go through the normal pathway for being diagnosed. So what happened was, my mental health's always been up and down. At this time in my life, so mid-20s at this point, I'm undiagnosed autistic. I'm on antidepressants and some other meds. My alcoholism's got really bad at this point, to the point where we can't really afford to live where we were living. We made the decision it might be better for us to move in with Saoirse's parents for financial reasons and so Saoirse could have some support because I wasn't giving it to her. And when it came to move house, I couldn't explain why, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't be there when we moved the stuff. I couldn't process what needed to happen. I couldn't imagine things going out of the door. I know now it was autism, but I didn't know at the time. And it was frustrating for everyone because it was like, well, why is this so incomprehensible for him? So I went up to see my dad in London whilst the move was happening, whilst Saoirse's family did the move. I went up to London to spend a night with my dad, and then I was going to spend another night with my friend Dave. Spent the night with my dad. Nothing horrendous happened. I drank too much, obviously, but it was quite a pleasant night. The next day I was hungover, so I went around Brixton just day drinking because I was meeting up with my friend Dave that evening. We were going to a comedy night. Spent the day drinking, met up with my friend Dave, got really drunk. I ended up booking a really expensive hotel on a credit card that I should never have been given. Woke up the next morning after that with an even bigger hangover, and by coincidence Dave was staying in the hotel like next door to mine. Now he didn't know this, but in the morning I texted him like, oh my, like, you know, the usual, I'm dying, this, that and the other. And Dave said, where are you? And I said, I'm in this hotel on Victoria Docks. And Dave said, so am I. So we met up the next day, so this is the Sunday. Carried on drinking again. I was supposed to be going home at this point. Carried on drinking again. Bearing in mind, my family are all flipping, having the stress of moving house and dealing with my son, who's only like 4 at this point. I'd left my mental health meds somewhere in this journey. So I had no mental health meds, and then I carried on drinking again. On the Sunday, got even more drunk. Woke up somewhere on the Monday in Manor House. In this, there's all these converted like containers in Manor House where they're like, I can't remember what they are, like old warehouses that have been converted into HMOs almost, houses with multiple occupancies. They're really cool. But I woke up there on this Monday, worst hangover I've had in a long time, no mental health meds, so I'm red raw. So I obviously start drinking again. I'm too anxious to get on a train, so my partner and her mum have got to come and get me from Richmond. So that's a 2-hour drive. Let's let these cyclists go past. Morning. So I'm still drinking at this point. They come and get me from Richmond. I'm drunk, my mental health's gone berserk, and I'm pretty much in psychosis, fueled by alcohol and no mental health meds. And we pulled into a service station because my behaviour was getting dangerous. I was throwing things in the car, and I ran into the motorway. And I got sectioned that night. The police came and sectioned me, understandably. And I had a psychiatrist referral, and I went in because of these psychotic symptoms and obviously running into the motorway. And the psychiatrist wrote on the thing right at the bottom, she said, suspected autistic spectrum disorder, Asperger's it was at the time. So I went and had a couple of meetings with this psychiatrist, and I brought it up. I think I said, what's this about autism on the bottom? And she said, oh, well, I think you're autistic. And I was screened within a few weeks, and yeah, so that's how that all came about. That could have been a turning point for my alcoholism, but it wasn't. I just carried on. In fact, I used it as an excuse time and time again. I just, well, you would too if you had what I have. Completely discounting all the autistic people who aren't alcoholics. So mid to late 20s, it just carries on, gets worse. I have periods of extreme drinking and periods where I've kind of got a handle on it. Never not drinking, of course, because that would be just unattainable for me at the time. But the extremes get gradually worse and worse. Other substances as well come into it. I'm not going to talk about them today. I'm not sure they're particularly YouTube friendly. But alcohol's illegal, so... And the extremes get worse and worse until lots more horrible things happen, but I don't really want to go into some of the worst horror stories because a lot of it involves my partner and my son who've suffered enough and they don't need their experiences shared all over YouTube. This is my journey. But basically, my alcoholism got more and more extreme in bursts until the age of 30, 31, where it became so severe that I couldn't stop, as in 24/7 drinking. There was one time in about February, March of 2021 where my drinking was really severe. I woke up in the morning one time, drank again, and that started a cycle of 24/7 drinking. And when I tell you the downward spiral was quick, I can't even put it into words. It was like 1 minute I could leave the house and could have met you and stopped in the street for a chat like this, and within 2 weeks I was bedbound and I wasn't eating. And that's kind of late stage alcoholism. I was yellow, I had hives on my skin. Every morning was a routine of having a bucket. I won't be too graphic because I know that really triggers some people, myself included. And then it was just trying to get alcohol to stay inside me until the shake stopped. And at this point, it would have been really dangerous for me to suddenly stop anyway. So this was the worst time for my partner because she had to keep giving me alcohol. She had to go and buy it for me. She had to keep giving it to me. She had to feed me. And I was dying. That was when the decision was made to put me in rehab, basically. It was the only way I could have got better. It would have been dangerous for me to stop drinking. I could have tried a reduction plan, 10% every 3 days is kind of roughly, but there's no way I would have handled a reduction plan of any description. So the plan was made to put me into rehab. We spent all of our life savings on it, and we needed a bit extra, so my partner's auntie gave us the rest. God rest her soul. I've been mostly sober since. I've had a couple of relapses, which taught me a lot, and I never like to speak in terms of like forever, but you'll find me in a coffin before you find me having a drink, put it that way. So my life in recovery. I won't talk about my programme. I work a 12-step programme. That's all I will say, because anonymity. So I won't go into that side of things. But my life in recovery, I will talk about because it's my life. The biggest miracle for me in my recovery. So I had long accepted that my mental health was just extreme highs and extreme lows. So being on top of the world with a drink in my hand, not a care in my body, and then the extreme low that followed that. I just thought that's what life was, Recovery for me, the miracle is that I'm actually just okay. I never thought I'd be okay. I thought I'd always be either incredibly invincible or absolutely at the pits of hell. I just thought that's what everyone was. And for the most part in recovery, I'm just okay. I'm okay. I get moments of anxiety. I still have panic attacks. I'm still autistic. And I get moments of happiness and joy and ecstasy, I suppose. But for all those bits in between, I'm okay. And those bits in between, you know, which form the vast majority of most of our days, the in-between bits, that's where I'm okay. And that's where I never was before. When I first came into recovery, I used to think, I want to be happy. I want to be happy. You must be happy. But the more I thought about that, the more I realised that wanting to feel one way all the time sounds remarkably similar to what an alcoholic might want. I used to want to be drunk all the time. Now I want to be happy all the time. And that's not what recovery is about. Recovery is taking life on life's terms, riding emotions and life events like waves. They peak, they trough, and they always level out. So I don't want anything. I don't have any wants anymore. I have hopes. I hope that I can be a good partner, a good dad, a good child to my parents. And I hope that I'm a good person to be around and I'm generous and I'm kind. But I don't want anything. I find if I give everything out the way I should, selflessly, I always get back what I need anyway. So I don't have any wants anymore, any expectations out of life. I take life as it comes. Some days are harder than others, as it would be for anyone. Saying that like it's an unusual thing. A big part of recovery has been accepting who I am. One thing as well, this walk was rated as really highly rated on all trails, but it's been quite dull. It's just gravel. I'm out and about, and that's an amazing thing to be on a bank holiday Monday morning, coming from where I've come from. Yeah, acceptance of who I am. So, do you remember before I said I thought alcohol made me who I was supposed to be? Confident, and all those things, all those other things that I've forgotten words for, which alcohol did for me. But the flip side of that is clearly I'm not that person. If I needed alcohol in me for it to happen, it's not real. And the truth is, I am an anxious, autistic person. And that's fine, that's not a problem that needs solving. Alcohol was my solution to everything, but the biggest problem was me. I was the problem. But I'm not a problem that needs solving anymore. I can just be anxious, it's okay. I can just be autistic. There's certain things that I can do, and there's certain things I can't do, and there's certain things I'm not willing to do. I'm not willing to go on a night out with a load of people drinking in a pub. Why would I? I'm not prepared to do anything that would jeopardise my recovery and my sobriety, because everything I have is pinned off that. My job, my driving licence, my family security, my financial security, my mental health, my physical health. The pin holding all of that in is my recovery. And if I take that out, I lose everything. So I have no problem saying no to things these days, because it might be either bad for my recovery or it might be just unpleasant and I don't want to do it. You know, I had enough unpleasant, horrible, miserable experiences in my alcoholism that I don't want those in my recovery. I want to just be peaceful and spend time with my family and go for walks and just be peaceful and have peacefulness and serenity where I never had it before. It's a nice view, look at this. I don't know if you can truly get the perspective on this camera, but you're kind of in this pathway and then it opens up into this vast expanse of field. I'm not sure what kind of field it is, whether it's a particular type of crop or just grass. But it's dead beautiful. Right, I need to figure out which way I'm going. Well, the way I'm going is not that way, because I think that's just someone's private land. I've gone vastly off course. Where have I gone then? Is this it? It says it's a cycle path. Yeah, maybe it's through here. Yeah, let's not walk on that person's field. Is this the right way? You'd think just following a line would be easy, wouldn't you? But don't put it past me to be able to bugger it up somehow. Obviously, this walk has been quite reflective for me. And I was thinking about how I used to deal with social interactions. So there's a few ways. As a person with autism, the first way is that I would just mimic the other person. And I still do that now. That's fine. Seems to work. I think it can make people feel at ease. That's how I cope. Another way, when I was younger, that I would cope with having to deal with people is I would just hijack social interactions. So I could only understand a social interaction if I had a clear and obvious role to play in it. And I mean really clear and obvious. So I'd carry around a pack of cards because I taught myself magic. And I would have a pack of cards on me at all times, just in case I didn't know what I was supposed to say in the interaction. I could just do a card trick. And then I'd play guitar, and I was like lead guitarist in a band, and it was like if people are gonna have to look at me, I'm gonna do it my way. And that's all fine, but obviously it's just so much pressure on myself, and it's so exhausting to be those things all the time. So I just used to show off. is the basic term for that. I taught myself how to beatbox, moonwalk, do card tricks, lead guitarist and singer in a band. I was a performing monkey, basically, because that's how I could understand my role in a group of people. I'm the performer. Oh, that's easy. I can just step into being a performer. One time I learned, so I got this Tim Vine, still one of my favourite comedians. I got this Tim Vine DVD, one of his stand-up gigs, and I memorised the whole routine. I mean, I probably forgot the odd joke, but I memorised pretty much the whole routine. I didn't have the props, but if I did, I would have done that bit as well. Even the songs. And I would just do that. There was one time we were round at the drummer of my band's house, and I think I just did the whole routine in front of like his mum and like stepdad and stuff, which just makes me cringe now, but looking back, that's all I knew how to do. It was that or talk, and I couldn't do that. So yeah, you're allowed to laugh at this, by the way, if you're finding this funny, because it is quite funny. It absolutely doesn't go without saying how grateful I am to my partner, my son, her family, my family, for sticking with me and believing in me throughout all of my alcoholism. And the reason I say it doesn't go without saying, because then why would I say it? And I think I should be saying it. I think it's something I should be expressing gratitude for and openly being grateful for and thanking them for. And that's what I'm doing. And another thing that I'll always be grateful for is waking up on a weekend morning or a bank holiday like today and being able to come for a walk, go for breakfast, just wake up feeling healthy and grateful and alive. I'm 5 years into my recovery journey, and that novelty has not worn off even slightly. And here we are now, arriving back at the Badbury Rings car park. Yeah, it's quite a short walk, about 7 kilometres, but it's fairly pleasant. It says moderate on all trails. I've got no idea whose idea of moderate that is, because that was easy by anyone's standards. There was people easily in their 80s pleasantly just walking along that trail. I'm calling that an easy walk. Apologies if you thought you were going to get more history of Badbury Rings. I don't know any really, I just know it's an Iron-Age hill fort. I think it was established by a Celtic tribe that I don't know the name of. But maybe I'll post a screenshot of something, or maybe I won't. So I hope you enjoyed or found it interesting. Maybe enjoyed is the wrong word. My story of what happened to me with alcohol. This walk has had friendly people, I must say, very friendly people. Pretty much everyone has said hello. Scenery was nice. I probably should have spent a bit more time looking at Badbury Rings. All dogs have been on lead, so I haven't really been able to say hello, but it's pretty good. Again, I'll post the screenshot of the name of the trail on all trails, because I can't remember what it is. Gets busy though. This is how busy it is already, and it's 11:15. So I've just realised I've got the name of the trail on my phone, haven't I? So this whole time I've been saying I don't know what it is, and I've got it here. It's Badbury Rings and Kingdown Drove Circular. So there you have it. Thanks for joining me on my walk around Badbury Rings and listening to my journey through addiction and my recovery. I hope you've enjoyed it or found it interesting, if nothing else. If you want to see more, please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe, and if this is the kind of thing you're interested in. I have plans to branch out and try some new things, so yeah, it would be great to have you as a subscriber if you're interested. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.